So once again, it's your boy Mercury, chilling, kicking it, you know, like I do, all over LA. Bringing you the greatest and the latest, and one of the greatest, right here, chilling, DJ Kaleem. How you doing, man?
Chilling.
Chilling?
Chilling.
Let's start it off. The first question that I always ask is basically, you know, what's your story and how you got into, you know, music and DJing?
Well, it all starts in a small state named New Jersey on the East Coast. I think I might have been 14 years old, and I had already started collecting vinyl. I had come from a background in like a cultural neighborhood where there were a lot of house parties, backyard parties, and PAL parties, which are the police athletic league. So that goes back to the legacy of Bambaataa and Kool Herc. As far as throwing, you know, jams wherever you could. As many successful and hype events that I had been to, I kind of got interested in the aspect of DJing. By the time I was 14, I had enough actual income, you know, working summer jobs to be able to buy myself turntables and actually add, you know, tables and a mixer to my already established vinyl collection. I was making small steps towards being able to do a party on my own with my crew. So, yeah, that's kind of how I started. I think the love just came, you know, as far as through my upbringing. My dad, you know, is an avid album collector, so I grew up going through his stash of Blue Note, funk, and, you know, Latin records and all those kinds of things. And my mom, who was actually in the house, you know, listened to Latin jazz on the weekends. And we just had like a really musical background. I remember probably one of my first concerts, I might have been 8 years old, going to see James and Toomey and his band. We actually went to concerts and all of that stuff kind of before the real hip hop era came about. I would really say my background is just from being exposed to music environmentally.
So when you started off, what was the hardest part about learning how to DJ?
Probably, you know, going back to the history of hip hop, was just, you know, lack of the physical equipment. You know, I remember as a kid in high school going to parties and literally just standing and watching the DJ. What's he doing with the pitch dial? What fingers are on the vinyl when he's scratching? Or what's he doing in the headphones and things like that? So without even having equipment, it was kind of like you had to get your mind attuned to what was going on. I was fortunate to have, you know, a bunch of people around me who were MCs, DJs, producers, my friends, so we kind of just all helped each other out, you know, developing everything that we did, whether it was competitively, you know, bagging on each other or just sharing resources.
In terms of when you first started up to now, you know, DJing and then now people coming with Serato and things like that, do you feel like there's much of a difference? Is it kind of the same thing, or?
The technical aspect is a lot different. I mean, you can skip a lot of steps. Like if you're just, you know, starting to DJ in 2008 or 9 and you've got all of your musical selections BPM, which is beats per minute, and you kind of know how to mix those songs, it technically takes away from having to really learn the songs or know the music. There's a lot being handed to you through the age of technology, which, you know, I don't think is a bad thing, but it's kind of like any science. It's kind of like you have to have a background in mathematics before you can understand really what the quantum theory can be applied to.
I know I was messing around with some vinyl before. I kind of thought in my head that pitch dial was going to be able to give me a lot of flexibility in terms of like matching tempos. But then like I started finding like, oh, okay, that doesn't work. Like I have to find a completely different record similar to that speed, you know what I mean? So like how did you, that's something that I've always been fascinated by, like when you started, like if you didn't know what the BPMs were, like how do you just have to know within yourself what the tempo is and just...
You just have to know. I mean, there's genres of music, like, you know, as a kid, I never saw a DJ really mix hip hop and house before, but, you know, through a creative mind and imagination, I was able to mix blue cheese with new. You know, that's like a mix that I actually did. But, you know, in general, I would suggest any DJ coming up to really just play what you listen to. You can play around with it, but you know, I hear a lot of DJs out there who will pitch a song up so fast that you're listening to Alvin and the Chipmunks,
right,
or they're playing with the master tempo and the bass line is really muddy and weird sounding, and it's kind of like, okay, I understand that you may not, you know, be in tune with what you're playing, but you know, for all intents and purposes, it's still getting the job done.
Right, right.